Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Kirby Marathon. Last time we talked about Kirby's Dream Land and Kirby's Adventure, the portable game that started it all, and the console game that made everything just sort of better for the entire series. But we went from the Game Boy to the NES, and it was going really successfully, so you would think at this point that 16-bit is the way to go. I mean really, Kirby's Adventure released in 1993, and the Super Nintendo, at least in America, in 91. It just makes the most sense in the world right now to take the successful franchise and move it over to the Super Nintendo, right? Well, we're still gonna have to wait a few years on that because in 1995, Nintendo went ahead and released Kirby's Dream Land 2 back on the original Game Boy. You know, I have absolutely no idea what compelled Nintendo to go backwards in technology, especially for a sequel, but hell, you look at Metroid 2 and Kid Icarus 2, this is just following the same trend. But with the core gameplay set up by the original Dream Land and all the advancements set up by Kirby's Adventure, let's see where Kirby's Dream Land 2 stands all these years later. Alright, I can't do it. You know, something about this really irritates me. Years ago, Nintendo released this thing called the Super Game Boy for the Super Nintendo. It gave classic Game Boy games some color, and some specific games have their own unique color palette and border to go along with it to make them look even nicer. Kirby's Dream Land 2 is one of these special games. But for some crazy random reason, Nintendo just refuses to acknowledge the fact that it ever existed, and I have no idea why. It makes no sense. The fact that Dream Land 2 is in monochrome in the Dream Collection, and the fact that games like Mega Man 5 and Donkey Kong 94 are sitting on the 3DS eShop and I can only play them in black and white when I know they look better in color, annoys the hell out of me. So for this video, I'm just going to go ahead and not use the Dream Collection. It's going to be a lot better on my part. Instead, we're going to go ahead and use a Super Nintendo anyway. Why not? It's going to make the gameplay look a whole lot better, and at this point, really, that's all I care about. Let's dive in. The story here is Kirby once again just trying to enjoy his peaceful old life on Dreamland, which apparently now takes place on the Rainbow Islands, something introduced in this game and only used in this game. Okay. And all of the rainbows that connect these lands together have been stolen by this force known as Dark Matter, who has also taken control of our good old pal King Dedede, and wants to bring darkness to all of Dreamland. So now, with the help of a hamster, owl, and fish, Kirby goes on another adventure to save the day. Alright, you know, not the most exciting group of friends, I'll admit, but hey, at least one of them is not a tree. You're damn right, I'm going to keep bringing that up. So yeah, we're kind of back to a pretty simplistic story here, but the gameplay is what has a new little twist to it. Since Kirby's Adventure really set the ground rules for what a Kirby game really is, most of the following games in the series had one major tweak to the formula that made it stand out from the rest. And this time it's getting some help from your 3 animal buddies. Just like before, you go through fairly simplistic platforming stages, each filled with obstacles and enemies that you can still swallow up and take their powers. But unlike Adventure, which had 20, this time there's only 7 of them. However, there are mini-bosses all over the place that'll reward you with one of your friends. You have Rick the hamster, who's fast on the ground, Coo the owl, who takes to the skies, and Kind the fish. Aside from always looking like a movie's plot twist mentally scarred him for life, makes underwater travel a whole lot easier. And each of them use Kirby's copy abilities in different ways. What would be a simple umbrella slash as Kirby is now a tornado of feathers with Coo. What was once a flamethrower with Rick is now a fireball launcher with Kind. It's a cool little idea since it makes the discovery of each of these combos pretty fun. It really may not mean a whole lot to the grand scheme of the game because it's really just an illusion of choice. There's no reason to skip past an animal buddy when you get up to them. But keep in mind, you get to partner up with an owl, and owls are awesome. I think my favorite one has to go to Kind with the spark ability. Just by looking at him, you can tell this poor fish did not know about this when he signed up for the job. Oh yeah, that's right, there is one more animal buddy. At some point, you're gonna fight one of the mini-bosses, and instead of rescuing one of the main 3 friends, you're instead gonna rescue this thing named Gooey. And this time there are 7 different worlds to travel through, but unfortunately, none of them really sport any sort of interesting naming scheme like before, besides maybe Ripple Field, I'll give it that one. Each one has a small handful of levels, but sorta going back to the original Dreamland, you could easily beat most of these levels in a few minutes. The game overall is still pretty short, only clocking in at about 2 hours, but I think the frantic nature of quickly starting and finishing levels, along with constantly switching up copy abilities and animal buddies, actually works really well. Although the game overall is still not that hard. It's only when you get to World 7, the Dark Castle, before the game kinda starts throwing some nasty tricks at you. Okay, a moving section, alright. Sure, bottom path, go. Oh man, Not cool. There's something really cool about the bosses too. Whether they're brand new like the Ice Dragon or the combo of Neruf and Nelly, or they're returning like Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright, they're all still, pretty easy and go down no problem. But once you beat them, you can go back to those stages and play a minigame with them to go for this game's 100%. And they all really use the same concept. Just collect all the stars and try to survive. And if you get hit at all, you get thrown out and the door locks behind you, and I have absolutely no idea how to unlock it, so I just end up restarting the game instead because that works. But the final new addition is that of the rainbow drops. To get to this game's final boss, you have to locate each of the world's hidden drops in one of the stages, thanks to using your ability to break down the barrier securing them. They're typically pretty easy to find and figure out on your own, except for the 6th one here in Cloudy Park. Fucking okay. First off, get kind from a previous level, and get to this part here with the air currents. Drop down randomly from this top platform because there's a door here, and swim all the way to the left. Take down Master Green for the spark ability, then exit and swim all the way to the right. Take down Blocky, but don't take the ability, and instead just take Rick with you. Knock out the blocks later on in the stage to destroy these Shotzos, and then switch out with the rescued Coup. And then you use Coup to fly against the air currents later on in the stage to find a door and beat, why you? Okay. And then you take his cutter ability, and then you fly all the way to the left, enter the door, and take the drop. What? Upon beating King Dedede with all of the rainbow drops intact, dark matter will fly out of him and take to the skies for the final battle. And, he looks pretty awesome? Wow, for being the essence of just darkness, he certainly knows how to dress. Dark matter has 2 different forms, neither of them are really all too difficult if you know just where to slash him. Heh, look at that. We beat the first form so hard we gave him a black eye. You get it? Because he's black and he turned into an eye? Alright, fine, lame joke, but upon beating him, Kirby once again saves Dreamland and everyone looks up into the sky, happy to see that the rainbow drops have finally been restored, ending Dreamland 2. The only other thing worth mentioning is the presentation. Since Kirby is back on the Game Boy, the game can still only look so good. But it does this awesome Super Game Boy thing where each area is sort of remembered by which shade of color it was presented in. Something that made the original Pokemon games a lot more enjoyable to me as a kid. Ah, the good old days. And then the soundtrack, while small, is still pretty good. Each world only has 1 tune for the overworld, 1 tune for that world's levels, and then 3 different songs that take over if you're riding one of the animal buddies. Again, it's all pretty good and pretty catchy. And I think my top 3 have to be Big Forest, Dark Castle, and the Coo the Owl theme. Really, really catchy stuff. So overall, Kirby's Dream Land 2 is an extremely solid game and easily one of the best games on the console. It doesn't top Kirby's Adventure in terms of pure quality, but for being just a fun platformer on the Game Boy, this is easily one of the better ones to play. Gameplay's enjoyable, soundtrack's well done, and the graphics, more so if you're playing it in color, look really nice. Actually, this game, along with Metroid 2, were planned to be released on the Game Boy Color as a DX version, like Link's Awakening and Tetris did. But neither of those two actually happened, so, pretty lame. And that's going to wrap up Kirby's Dream Land 2. Again, it's a really solid game, but for real this time. Next time we meet, things do get bigger and grander for the Kirby series because we're going to be talking about the game that is widely considered to be the best game in the series, Kirby Superstar for the Super Nintendo. We're finally jumping to the Super Nintendo, for real this time. We're also going to be talking a bit about the remake on DS, Superstar Ultra. But anyways guys, hopefully you all enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and as always, you have a good day and take care. But I couldn't end this off without talking about one little Easter egg the game has to offer. In level 5 of the Red Canyon, there's this area where you fall down a shaft filled with blocks that are placed in a really random way. You don't really think much of it, but then you actually look online and see what that area's layout was like. And, yeah, that's a naked woman. I don't know.